Welcome back to the Deep Dive. And a very warm welcome to this special session we have designed just for you, the English learner.
It is wonderful to be here. Today, we are really moving beyond just, vocabulary lists.
We are diving straight into the practical skills that you need to navigate some pretty emotional and serious conversations in English.
That is it, exactly.
We are focusing today on conversational fluency, the real language people use when the stakes are high. And we are taking a deep dive into some real-life English conversation skills, drawing insights directly from the fantastic channel, Native Ear.
And the dialogue we're looking at is very intense. It is this romantic, quite dramatic conversation between a couple.
Right. They're trying to sort out their relationship, they're apologizing to each other, and they're trying to figure out if they even have a future together.
These kinds of emotional dialogues are, they are incredibly rich sources for learning. They really force speakers to use nuanced language, idioms, and specific phrases that you just do not find in a standard textbook.
Our mission today is ambitious, but I think it is completely achievable. We're going to take words that seem simple, everyday words, and uncover the serious, sometimes hidden meanings they carry in these conversations.
And by the time we finish, you will have specific, applicable tools ready to use in your own life.
We have three main results we want you to achieve. First, you will know the critical, non-negotiable difference between the phrase to love and the phrase to be in love.
Getting that one wrong can cause some huge misunderstandings.
It certainly can. Second, you will understand exactly how to signal to a native speaker that you need to have a serious conversation. And this is a technique that relies more on specific phrasing than on, say, complex words.
It is all about the signal you are sending.
And third, you will learn several common and sweet pet names that English speakers use. And maybe more importantly, you will understand the cultural context that makes them affectionate, even when their literal meaning is, well, a bit strange.
Oh, that cultural context is absolutely key. Pet names are a perfect example of language that just does not translate literally.
Before we really jump in, let me introduce our expert guide for this journey. He is an insightful instructor who is here to help us analyze and apply all of these phrases. Please welcome Jordan.
Thank you. I am very eager to help our listeners really slow down, understand the nuance in the language, and then feel confident applying this knowledge right away.
To get us started, I have a question for you, our listener. Have you ever used a phrase in English that sounded simple in your head, but it ended up causing a serious misunderstanding because of how you used it?
Or maybe the context you used it in.
Exactly. Think about that for a moment. And before we begin our first section, please take a moment to like this deep dive, subscribe to the Native Ear channel so you never miss a lesson, and please share this with your friends and family.
We do not want them to miss out on learning these crucial phrases.
Okay, let us set the scene one more time for the learner. The source material is this difficult, pivotal discussion between a couple.
Right. They're trying to apologize and then decide if they have a future together.
And throughout this analysis, we are going to focus on the exact usage of words and sentences. We will be reading all words in full, and our pace will be slow and clear to make it as easy as possible to follow along.
And starting with the fundamentals is always the best approach. Our first stop in this Fluency Builder section is, it is essential for anyone discussing personal feelings. It is phrase number 1.
The difference between to love versus to be in love.
A classic point of confusion.
It is. In the dialogue, the couple uses both of these. We hear the standard, I love you, but we also hear the much more definitive statement, I am in love with you.
Now, for a non-native speaker, the addition of just 2 small words in and with might seem minor.
But the distinction is huge, is it not?
It is truly enormous. The difference is categorical. It is what separates general affection from, romantic passion. Let us break down to love someone first.
Okay, let us unpack the meaning and usage of to love someone.
To love someone means you have a general strong affection for them. It is a powerful, warm, positive feeling. But, and this is the crucial part, it does not necessarily imply romantic passion or any sexual attraction.
So it's more like a deep, unconditional care.
Precisely. You use this verb very broadly. You can say you love your parents, you love your siblings, you love your friends, your pets. You can even use it for things.
Right. You could say, I love this new coffee shop, or I love my car because it is so reliable.
Exactly. It shows connection, deep care, and appreciation, but it does not carry that specific weight of romantic commitment. It is a very common and versatile verb that you will hear used daily.
Okay, so that is to love. Now let us look at the second phrase, which is much more focused. To be in love with someone.
Yes, this construction is far more restrictive. It is very specific. When you add that little phrase, in love with, you are signaling a strong, unique, and often intense romantic feeling.
And maybe a sexual feeling as well.
Yes, often that too. This is the language of passion. It is the language of exclusive commitment.
So if you say, I am in love with you, you are making it very clear. You're talking about romance, attraction, and exclusivity.
Yes, this usage is strictly, and I really want to emphasize this, strictly restricted to a romantic partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your fiance, your husband, or your wife.
This is probably the most important rule for learners to remember here.
It is. You must not use the phrase, I am in love with, for family members, not for your mother, your father, or your brother.
I am curious, what would happen if a learner, perhaps just by mistake, said something like, I am in love with my mother? What kind of reaction would they get?
Well, the mildest reaction would probably start with extreme confusion.
Confusion.
Yes, followed very quickly by a deep sense of awkwardness. A native speaker would immediately assume they're either confessing some kind of, taboo, romantic obsession, or that you were simply misusing the English language in a very, very dramatic way.
The social stakes are quite high.
They are very high. The dialogue we are studying highlights this because the character is confirming the status of their intense relationship by using this exact phrase. It signals committed passion, not just general family affection.
The distinction is paramount, then. You love your family, but you are in love with your romantic partner. That is a foundational lesson for fluency, a really important one.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to phrase number 2. Can we talk? This simple arrangement of 3 words is perhaps one of the most significant conversational warning signs in English.
It really is.
And it is how the girl in our source dialogue starts this whole intense exchange.
I like to call it a linguistic siren. I mean, the literal meaning is easy enough, right? Are we able to communicate? But the context, the usage, that signals extreme seriousness and urgency.
This is such a crucial point for the learner. If you just translate, can we talk? Literally, word for word, it seems like a simple invitation to speak. But in practice, when a native English speaker uses this specific phrase, they're doing it for a reason.
A very specific reason.
They want to start a serious conversation about a major and often very difficult topic.
It is the formal preamble that signals gravity. It tells the listener, stop what you are doing. Pay attention. The subject we are about to discuss requires your full focus, and it is probably not good news.
I wonder, though, is it always about bad news? Could you use it in other settings, maybe formal, non-romantic settings, like, say, if you were speaking to your boss?
Oh, absolutely. The phrase signals seriousness, which, yes, often means bad news, but it can also just mean urgency or formal necessity.
Okay, so give us an example of that.
Imagine you need to discuss a difficult topic with your boss. Let us say your department is being restructured. You would not just walk up and say, tell me about the restructuring.
No, that would be too direct. Too abrupt.
Right. You would use the preamble. You would say, can we talk? I need to clarify some details about the upcoming project change. The gravity is still there, but the subject is professional, not romantic.
So if I were using it in a professional context, it would signal something like, I need some of your focused time to discuss an important, non-trivial matter.
Correct. It commands attention. It sets an expectation for depth.
Okay, now let us use a contrast example. If the topic were simple, like complimenting your new shoes, for example, I would never walk up to you and say, can we talk? With a serious face.
No, that would be very strange.
I would just say, hey, those shoes are fantastic. Where did you find them? Using can we talk for something so trivial would just confuse the listener. Their mind would immediately prepare for bad news.
The gravity of the phrase alerts the listener to the seriousness of what is about to follow. It is the verbal equivalent of sitting the person down and saying, we need to have a moment.
So the implication for the learner is very clear. If your significant other says, can we talk, especially with a flat, neutral, or slightly serious tone of voice, you should be prepared.
Right. You should not respond with a casual, sure, what about?
What should you say instead?
Your response should acknowledge the gravity. Something like, of course, is everything okay? Or maybe, I am ready. What do we need to discuss? Your response should match the seriousness that has just been established by those 3 words.
It is one of the most powerful conversational tools for signaling the start of a really substantial, emotional, or high-stakes topic.
Without a doubt.
Let us transition to phrase number 3. This one is fascinating because its meaning is entirely dependent on how you speak the words. The phrase is, You know what I mean?
This phrase does appear in the dialogue, and its literal meaning is simple enough. It is just, do you understand my point? Or do you understand the context I am talking about?
But the real power here, and the real learning opportunity, is how this simple string of words can be changed from a request for information into an assertive statement just by changing your tone.
It is all in the delivery.
Before we get into the tone shifts, let us define what we mean by tone for our learners. We are talking about inflection.
Right. Inflection is just the way your voice rises or falls when you speak. And this small change tells the listener if you are asking a question or if you are making a statement. So can you explain what happens when the inflection rises?
Of course. When you use this phrase as a question, your inflection, your tone, it rises sharply at the end of the sentence. This signals that you are genuinely asking for confirmation.
So you are saying, I just explained a complicated idea. Please tell me if you understood it.
Exactly. Or please tell me if you agree with my perspective. It is a check for shared understanding. Let us use the example from our source material about the professor with unclear instructions.
Okay.
I might say it like this, with a rising tone at the end. The professor was not very clear on his instructions, so how was I supposed to do the homework? You know what I mean?
That rising tone clearly asks for confirmation. You are inviting the listener to confirm that they sympathize with your difficulty or that they understand your frustration.
And the expected answer would be something like, yes, I completely understand.
Or, ah, that sounds so frustrating. Something supportive.
Okay, another example. What if I am arguing with a friend about a confusing movie? I might say, the director left the ending completely open, so we do not even know if the character survived. It felt totally unsatisfying, you know what I mean?
Again, that rising tone signals, do you agree with my interpretation? You are confirming that you both understand the situation in the same way, and you are maybe even seeking validation for your opinion.
Right. Now, what happens when we change the inflection to a falling or a flat tone, making it a statement?
Well, when it is used as a statement, usually with that falling or flat tone, you are actually asserting something. You are asserting that the other person already understands the reason or the context without you needing to explain it further.
So you are assuming you have a shared knowledge of the situation.
Exactly. You are not asking for confirmation. You are stating a fact about their existing understanding of the situation.
This is a very subtle but powerful difference. The statement version implies, we share a context here, and I do not need to explain this point because you already get the unspoken reasons.
Precisely. Let us imagine the second example. I do not like going to your mom's house. You know what I mean? The flat tone here means, I know that you know about the awkward silences and the strange food, so I do not need to list them all out. They are known to both of us.
The statement version becomes a conversational shortcut. It is relying heavily on an assumed pre-existing relationship or some shared history.
It is, and the listener should respond by acknowledging that shared context, not by asking you to clarify what you mean.
So if I use the flat tone, the right response would be something like, I definitely know what you mean.
Or even just, I hear you. Something that confirms that the unspoken context is understood. If a learner mistakenly uses a rising tone when they mean to make a statement, they risk sounding insecure, or maybe as if they doubt the listener's intelligence.
Mastering this subtle inflection is a huge leap toward native fluency. We've covered 3 simple but really nuanced elements: the romantic distinction, the seriousness signal, and the power of inflection. That is a substantial start. That was a deep breakdown of some essential vocabulary. Now we are going to transition to section 2, putting it together. Here we are focusing on phrases that function as structures.
Right. These are phrases that allow us to swap out nouns and verbs to apply the core meaning to hundreds of different situations.
This is where you really build grammatical fluency.
I like to think of them as shortcuts. Once you recognize the pattern, you can use it confidently in romance, in business, or even just when you are commenting on a movie you saw.
Let us start with structural phrase 1.
Yeah.
This is at the core of the couple's crisis in our source dialogue. The phrase is, where is this relationship going?
Okay, the core meaning here is to ask about the future, the plan, or the outcome of something that is currently in motion. It expresses a lot of uncertainty about the trajectory, and it seeks clarity or definition.
In the romantic dialogue, the person is basically asking, are we going to get married? Will we move in together? Is this a long-term thing? They are questioning the ultimate goal.
And we should break down the structure for the learner.
Good idea.
Notice the grammatical components. It uses the present progressive tense, is going. We are not asking about a physical direction, like walking down a street. We are using going, metaphorically, to ask about the plan.
So the structure needs a subject. the relationship, the career, the meeting, followed by a form of the verb to be, and then the word going.
Exactly. And that makes the structure very, very adaptable.
So let us explore some examples of usage beyond romance, focusing on that metaphorical use of going.
The first example could relate to one's career. You can use this structure to express uncertainty about your professional development. For instance, I do not know where my career is going in this company. I do not see any potential for growth.
So here, where my career is going is asking about future potential. You are questioning the outcome of all your time and effort in that job. You are looking for a plan, a clear path forward.
You can also use it for more abstract concepts, like a financial investment. Let us say you've put money into a stock or a business.
You might ask, I have invested a lot in this small startup. I keep monitoring the markets, but I still cannot tell where the stock price is going.
In that case, you are trying to predict the future financial outcome. Going here means trending or projecting.
That is a great application. Okay, a second example, something a bit lighter, could relate to media, like a confusing TV show.
Yes. You might say, this new series is so confusing, they keep introducing strange subplots, and I have no idea where the plot is going.
So the structure where the plot is going is asking about the future narrative direction. Yeah. It means I cannot predict the outcome, and the story feels disorganized.
And you are expecting a satisfying, coherent story as the outcome.
Right. And a third, very common example relates to meetings. I think we have all experienced this one.
I'm sure we have.
We've been in this meeting for over 2 hours, and I still do not know where it's going.
In this professional context, the structure is questioning the purpose or the future agenda of the meeting. It means, what is our goal here? What decisions are we trying to reach? Are we actually achieving anything?
Or are we just wasting time with no clear direction?
Exactly. The essential structure remains. Where is noun going? But the learner has to remember that this structure usually carries an implication of frustration or uncertainty.
That is a good point. You only ask this question when you feel lost, and you need a clear sense of direction or purpose.
It is a structure for seeking definition. If you are ever unsure about the direction of a plan or a project, this is the perfect native-sounding phrase to use.
Okay, let us move on to structural phrase 2. Maybe it is just time we. In the source dialogue, the character starts to say this right before her boyfriend interrupts her.
And she is suggesting a major change, which we can assume is breaking up.
Right. This is a brilliant phrase for softening a necessary action. The core meaning is that a particular action is necessary or imminent. The time is right, or maybe even overdue, to do something.
The speaker feels that enough has happened, enough fighting, enough waiting, that the next logical step has to be taken.
Let us break down the role of the word maybe. Why not just say, it is time we break up? That is much more direct.
Well, the word maybe is essential here. It introduces the action as a suggestion, not a command or a final conclusion. It makes the statement less aggressive.
So it is more conversational.
Yes, and it opens the door for the other person to agree or to gently negotiate. It softens the blow of what might be about to follow.
And what about the phrase, just time we? What does that part imply?
Just time we implies inevitability. It suggests that this action is a natural consequence of the current situation. It means all the evidence points to this being the right moment to act.
And the key structural requirement is that the phrase must be completed with a simple verb or an action.
That is correct.
This structure is incredibly powerful because it introduces a solution or a necessary step forward, even if that step is a difficult one. Let us look at some completion examples.
Okay. Starting with the serious action that was hinted at in the dialogue, maybe it is just time we break up.
This signals that the speaker feels the relationship has run its course. It has reached an inevitable conclusion. The relationship is logically over, even if it is still emotionally painful.
But conversely, the same structure can introduce a positive, life-altering action. This shows its versatility.
Such as?
Maybe it is just time we have a baby. Here, the speaker is suggesting that their lives are stable and mature, and the next logical step for growth is to start a family.
And finally, a simple everyday application that shows the pattern. Maybe it is just time we go home.
This simply signals that, based on the context, it is late, everyone is tired, the appropriate action now is to leave.
We could even use this in a project management context. If a team's been trying to fix a problem with an old system for weeks with no success.
A manager might say, maybe it is just time we abandon this old software and upgrade to a new platform. It positions the action as the only logical response to the current difficulty.
The beauty of this structure is its ability to suggest an action without being overly demanding. It presents the action as a necessary, rational consequence of the circumstances. And that makes it feel fair, even if the action itself is unwelcome.
A very useful tool.
Absolutely. Okay, let us move to our third structural phrase, which is about reflecting on a shared past. We have had our laughs.
This is a beautiful and maybe a slightly melancholy phrase. It is a common, a little bit sentimental way to say, we have experienced our happy days, or we have had our good times together.
And when it is used in a dialogue about potentially breaking up, it implies that those happy times may be over, or they are now just memories.
It does. But we should show the learner how changing that final noun, the word laughs, shifts the focus while still maintaining that general idea of a shared past experience.
Right. This gives you alternative expressions depending on what specific part of the past you want to emphasize.
So let us look at the alternative that encompasses the entire emotional journey. We have had our ups and downs.
This phrase is much broader than just laughs, is it not?
Oh, yes. It covers both the peaks, which are the ups, the good moments, and the valleys, the downs, which are the bad moments.
So if you want to summarize a complicated history, a relationship or a friendship that had periods of fighting mixed with periods of joy, this phrase is perfect because it is balanced and honest. It acknowledges the complexity.
A different alternative focuses specifically on the difficulties. We have had our issues.
If two people use this phrase, they're specifically talking about having had problems, conflicts, or disagreements. It means we have had struggles and difficult negotiations and painful moments that we had to work through.
Right. It is less focused on the happy times and more focused on the difficulties that they have either overcome or that are now causing this current conversation.
That is an excellent question. Does the emotional weight of issues carry over when you use it professionally? For example, in talking about a company's past performance.
That is a great point to bring up. Yes, it does. In a professional context, if a board member says, we have had our issues with the product launch, everyone in that room immediately understands that problems occurred.
Financial problems, logistical problems, technical problems.
Exactly. While the emotion is less intense than in a romantic breakup, the word issues still signals a substantial difficulty, not just a minor annoyance.
Okay. And finally, we have one last alternative. We have had our moments.
This one means we have had special, standout, memorable times or occasions. These are unique experiences, perhaps the day they met, a perfect vacation, or a time they felt an incredibly strong, rare connection.
So when you use this phrase, you are emphasizing specific, important memories rather than just a general period of happiness. It implies quality over quantity.
And understanding the nuance between these four nouns, laughs, ups and downs, issues, and moments, allows the learner to perfectly articulate which aspect of their shared history they want to bring into the discussion. It provides a powerful layer of emotional specificity.
That has been a massive deep dive into the language of seriousness and structure. We have analyzed apology, future planning, and reflection on the past. Now for Section 3, pet names and cultural insights.
This section is so crucial for social fluency. Pet names are informal, they are deeply cultural, and they often defy any sort of logical, literal translation.
Let us first define what we mean for our learners. When we talk about pet names, we are not talking about names for animals like dogs or cats.
No. We're talking about sweet, affectionate terms used to call one's boyfriend, girlfriend, or spouse. They are also known as terms of endearment.
They function as intimate substitutes for a person's actual name, and they're used only in comfortable, affectionate, or private settings to signify closeness and warmth.
And the dialogue we are studying uses some of the most standard and common English pet names. These are very safe starting points for any learner.
Let us list those basic standard examples for everyone. Okay. First, we have baby. This is extremely common, often shortened to the even more casual babe. This one is everywhere. Then there is honey, a true classic. This name implies sweetness and is universally recognized as a term of endearment.
We also have sweetheart. This is a lovely traditional term that you will often hear used across different generations of speakers.
What about darling?
Darling is slightly more formal, perhaps a bit older-fashioned than baby, but it is still very popular, especially in British-influenced English.
And we also have sweetie,
Which is just a casual and quick version of sweetheart. And finally, cutie. This one is used specifically to complement a partner's appearance, implying that they are attractive, adorable, or charming.
So these are your foundational names, the ones you will encounter most often in both written and spoken English, and they are generally considered very safe to use.
Now let us venture into the territory of names that might be considered cheesy, or too sweet, or overly cute.
These are the names that might make some people laugh, but they are used affectionately, sometimes ironically, but often genuinely by couples who just love to be playful.
Right, these are the names that truly reveal the cultural creativity of intimacy.
So what are some of those overly sweet examples from our source material?
We can dive into the world of creative sweetness. First, snook. This is a playful, slightly mysterious term. It definitely falls into that too sweet category for some people, and it often implies someone is lovable or small.
What about honey bunny?
Honey Bunny is a fantastic example of combining two already sweet names to create an ultra cutesy name. It is just pure, high-level affection.
And sweetie pie.
This falls into the category of affectionate food names. It implies the person is delicious, pleasant, and highly desirable.
There's also Pooh Bear.
Yes, referencing the famous cartoon bear Winnie the Pooh. This is often used when calling a partner big or clumsy or cuddly in a loving, non-critical way. It relies on a known, adorable cultural icon for its emotional meaning.
And finally, dumpling.
Another affectionate food name. It implies the person is round, cute, or soft, but always in an affectionate way, never as a negative critique of their weight.
This brings us to a key insight for the learner. Because English is so flexible, especially in private romantic settings, you can absolutely make up your own pet names.
The only rules are that the name must be understood as affectionate by the two people using it. And it usually comes from an inside joke, a funny shared experience, or maybe a unique physical trait.
So if you called your partner Captain Chaos, because they're always losing their keys, that might be a unique pet name only the two of you share.
Exactly.
Now let us provide that crucial moment of cultural aha by sharing specific examples from other languages. This is where we learn why literal translation is such a trap.
This is vital for cross-cultural understanding. For instance, in Spanish, it is incredibly common for partners to call each other gordo for a man or gorda for a woman.
And the literal translation of gordo or gorda is quite clearly fat.
It is, exactly. But in the affectionate context, it is used in a sweet way, not an insulting way. Culturally, this term can signify something that is substantial, lovable, or desirable.
So it is a sign of closeness.
Yes, sometimes it is linked to the idea of being well cared for or healthy. And because it is used so commonly, the literal negative meaning just fades away entirely, and only the positive, affectionate feeling remains.
That is a perfect example of linguistic separation. The emotional context has completely overridden the dictionary definition. You would never use fatty in English as a pet name.
No, absolutely not. But gordo is normal in Spanish.
Okay, what about another example?
Another fascinating one comes from French. It is common for a partner to be called ma puce.
And macus literally translates to my flea.
Correct. My flea. Again, if you called someone my flea in English, it would sound very strange, perhaps implying they are annoying or tiny.
It would not be a compliment.
No. But in French, it has evolved into a recognized, widely accepted, and very affectionate diminutive term. It is used to suggest something small and dear to you.
These examples teach us that the emotional history and the cultural normalization of a phrase, the love and affection behind it, are far more important than the literal meaning of the words themselves.
That is the key takeaway. The learner should feel confident using the common English pet names we listed, and also understand that in every language there are cultural oddities when it comes to terms of endearment.
And remember, whether you choose honey or you invent your own unique name, the intent must always be clear and shared between the two of you. This has been incredibly insightful.
The clear pace has allowed us to dive deeply into the structure of these phrases, which is really essential for maximizing learner retention.
Before we move to our final thought, we have one invitation for our listener. If you are enjoying this deep dive, please visit the English Pod website and share common pet names used in your own language.
Or maybe other strange or sweet names you have heard in movies or talk shows. Sharing that cultural context helps everyone learn.
We have now completed our extensive deep dive into conversational English for relationships, thanks to the deep source material from Native Ear. Let us quickly summarize the concrete results you have achieved today.
You are now equipped with knowledge that will immediately improve your confidence in handling serious English discussions.
First, you mastered the necessary distinction between to love which is general affection, and to be in love, which is a strong, exclusive romantic feeling. You understand the high stakes of getting that preposition right.
Second, you learned how to effectively signal seriousness using the simple but powerful phrase, "Can we talk?" You now recognize that context turns those simple words into a warning signal for a major discussion, whether it is romantic or professional.
Third, we thoroughly expanded on 3 adaptable structural phrases. Where is it going? Maybe it's time we, and we have had our. These help you talk clearly and structurally about the future trajectory and the shared past.
And finally, you compiled a robust list of common and sweet pet names to use with a partner, and you gained crucial cultural insight into why literal translations of affectionate terms can be entirely misleading.
Now for our final provocative thought for future exploration. Building on the excellent relationship vocabulary we just covered, we focused heavily on how to talk about current relationships and apologies, but what about past ones?
That is a great question. Think about how English speakers use specific, almost contractual terms for former partners. The term we use most often is the short clipped word ex.
Which is just a quick abbreviation for ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-husband, or ex-wife.
Right. And it signals a past connection that is now finished.
Or how about the specific, often informal phrases for ending a relationship, like the casual but commonly used term to dump someone?
That means to abruptly end a romantic relationship. It is often used regardless of who is at fault, but it does carry a very informal, slightly negative connotation.
And consider the phrasing that expresses deep emotional pain, such as to break someone's heart.
A very powerful phrase. This means to hurt someone's feelings so badly that they suffer emotionally. It symbolizes a devastating emotional injury.
These phrases, ex, dump someone, and break someone's heart, are crucial for understanding the dynamics and history of relationships in English. We encourage you to research these specific terms.
Yes, terms for past relationships and breakups. They are just as essential as the vocabulary for current affection and commitment. Continue to seek out those small, nuanced phrases and the context that makes them carry such heavy meaning.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive from Native Ear. If you found this lesson useful and easy to understand, please remember to like this deep dive, subscribe to the channel for more language insights, and share it with everyone you know who's learning English.
We are always happy to see you. Until next time, keep learning and confidently applying these critical phrases.
Goodbye.
Bye for now.